Howdy, boys and girls, and welcome back to, it doesn't actually matter what week number this is, because it's conference championship week, and I don't have to remember a number. Carla is joining us, as she usually does, from Nashville. Hi, Carla.
Hi.
I apologize for my deathly illness last week. I hated not being able to do a show during Michigan week. But, of course, we had to come back and do this because, as Auburn Athletics Director Jay Jacobs might say, it would be downright un-American to not do a show on conference championship week. Obviously, the way things worked out last Saturday with my Buckeyes' narrow win over the Wolverines and Auburn's absolutely stunning win over Alabama, we have gotten to the point where the BCS is going to go out in one last gasp of controversy and horror, and someone's going to be pissed off, and it might be me. It might very well work out to be me. So before we look ahead, how about last weekend?
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the whole day, and then like the one game that flew under the radar, which I did manage to tweet about, was my Knits pulling off the upset at Wisconsin. I mean, that was no small loss for Wisconsin. That knocked them out of some bowl contention. And I mean, it was just lackluster on their part. They just didn't look interested in playing that game. And, I fully admit that I was keeping an eye on that game, kind of because they overlapped a little bit with the Iron Bowl. But I totally was on for the end of that game. And that last play, I mean, just when you thought Auburn had the most improbable win ever against Georgia, and then 1 week or 2 weeks later, whatever, next home game later to do that, just unbelievable. I mean, you've got to believe that there's some sort of destiny in this team.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that it worked for one bit. But we'll talk about that. Yeah,
I was gonna say we'll talk about that because but just remarkable weekend.
Yeah. In fact, we can actually talk about that right now. The first of the four games that we're going to discuss is the SEC title game. It is the first one that comes up on the schedule. On Saturday, they, of course, play at a neutral site, number 5 Missouri versus number 3 Auburn. Auburn is a 2-point favorite. That in and of itself is probably awfully un-American, I imagine Jay Jacobs would say. What do you see here with Missouri and your team of destiny?
Well, first of all, I hear a train going through. I don't know if you can hear that, but
I can hear that.
Train.
No big deal.
It's okay. We're not talking about Purdue, remarkably. Purdue does not play in the SEC.
We'll wait for basketball season to really get going before we talk about Purdue.
Before we talk about Purdue, right? Yeah, no. No. What I see is two teams. Well, first of all, two teams that nobody in their right minds picked to be here at the end of the season. Right. The fact that both these teams are here is remarkable in and of itself. They both have the same mascot, and they're both so statistically even on paper that like if you just looked at the numbers, there's no way you would pick a winner in this game. It just the back and forth. Couple of interesting things that I did notice when I was looking at stats, because I had to find something to kind of differentiate them, is that Missouri actually has a little bit of a special teams thing going where they actually do give up more yardage on returns. Which, as we just spoke about Auburn.
How many yards do they usually give up on field goal returns? Is that a number that you're able to
that wasn't a stat on college football stats. Sorry, but they do. I mean, if there is a weakness there, I would say that's got to be the only one. Which is just ironic because of what happened last week with Auburn. I don't think it's going to play a huge role in this game. The other thing is Missouri's only loss was in double overtime, which we all know it's to South Carolina. But that was when Matty Mock was starting. So they didn't have James Franklin.
Sure.
Auburn, like I said, has had 2 improbable wins. It really is tough to pick a winner in this one. I'm going to go against the tide here a little bit, wonk, and lean Missouri in this game. I think the Missouri has the better resume with the loss. I don't think that they've played as strong of a schedule, but that Missouri team showed me something last weekend, that they can stifle a complicated offense Texas A&M. I mean, they really did shut that offense pretty much down. The Auburn offense, not that different, really. They kind of do some, Nick Marshall, yeah, he throws the ball, obviously, but he also is very mobile. Same way with Johnny Manziel. I think the parallels there, I think playing A&M heading into this game is a huge plus for Missouri. Auburn's played 2 really emotional games back-to-back. I don't know. I'm gonna lean Missouri. I think it's gonna be another really great game, like we've seen the last couple weekends from Auburn. Wouldn't surprise me if it came down to the last possession. Wouldn't surprise me if it went to overtime. But what the heck? I just like the Missouri story. I like the senior quarterback. So I'll go Missouri. What do you say?
I was going for Missouri as well, although I think my reasoning has more to do with, I think that would be much funnier with all the belly aching that the Auburn fans have done so far this week. But I do have an actual reason. I wonder about what happens. The Georgia win for Auburn obviously is one thing, and that's a big emotional peak. But I wonder about how a team rebounds. And I actually have similar concerns. This is a legit thing. I have a few similar concerns about Ohio State. We'll get to that in a minute. How does a team rebound from that? It's just an incredible emotional peak for a college football team to beat your rival like that on the last play of the game. Does any of this sound familiar? And because these teams are so evenly matched, I really think that's a variable that I'm going to put in Missouri's favor. Plus, as I said, I just think it would be funny as hell for Jay Jacobs to do all the talking that he's done since last weekend and then not actually win the football game.
Win the game, right? Neutral field plays a role here too, I think.
It does, and I like the a couple of the games we're going to talk about aren't played at neutral fields, which is an interesting thing for conference championships. But yeah, I'm picking the Missouri Tigers to win the SEC title, and that has nothing at all to do with my rooting interests, not much anyway. Next up, we have the Pac-12 championship. We have a Stanford at Arizona State. This is not a neutral field game. Arizona State is favored by 3. Carla, you and I were both very high on Stanford as we did our season previews, and they've sort of rebounded a little bit after the bad loss that they had with against Utah. What do you see for this one?
Well, Stanford has actually already beaten Arizona State earlier this year. I almost said Ohio State. I'm sorry.
I heard that.
The red hoodie is messing me up. I'm sorry. And beat them pretty sound. I mean, they beat them soundly. I mean, the score was 42-28, but I went back and looked at it again, and Stanford actually had a really big lead in that game and gave up some late touchdowns to make that score look more interesting than the game actually was. That game was played at Stanford. Arizona State, talk about home field advantage we were just talking about with Auburn. Arizona State has a significant home field advantage. I mean, the fact that they're playing there is definitely going to, I mean, obviously they're a 3-point favorite. That's the home field. But I definitely think that's going to play a role in this. Arizona State has also played more consistently than Stanford has played coming down the stretch. I think Arizona State has won 7 in a row since their last loss was to Notre Dame at home. They played Notre Dame at home. But we don't want to forget this is the Arizona State team, and I'd almost forgotten this, that this is the Arizona State team that the week after they got crushed by Stanford were responsible for kiffining the Pac-12. It was the very next week that they went out and played out of their minds, and that was the game that they beat USC, and everything just kind of spiraled out of control for the entire Pac-12. Really, it's amazing how you eliminate that one coach, and it's just everything just kind of spirals.
I love that that's a verb now. By the way,
kiffining.
Yeah.
The key thing that I see here, back to something that actually might have a little bit of merit as opposed to kiffining, is the fact that Arizona State, in all of their wins, they've held their opponent to around 20 points per game. In the only losses that Stanford has this year, they were held to about 20 points. So in order for Arizona State to win this game, they've got to hold the Stanford offense to somewhere around 20 points. So it's 21, 22, 19, somewhere in there. If Stanford starts scoring, Arizona State's not going to be able to keep up with them. So keeping it a low-scoring game will favor Arizona State. And then I'm looking at my notes right now, and I didn't pick a winner in this game.
I have a quarter around here somewhere.
You have a quarter? As much as my gut is telling me that Arizona State wins this game, because they're playing at home and they're more consistent, and I think their defense is playing a little bit better right now. I think Stanford finds a way to win this, and I don't know why I'm saying that, but I don't know. I think Stanford, they were predicted to be in the championship game. They were predicted to win the Pac-12 between them and Oregon. Oregon. Sorry, I'm correcting my own AP style while we're doing a show. Because I'm a dork like that. Stanford, sure.
Okay. I have vacillated as well. I have awfully fond recollections of that building, having been there early in 2003. And I know it is a real home field advantage for the Sun Devils. I guess I'm still stuck on the Stanford that you and I talked about at the beginning of the season, and I know what they are capable of. You're correct in when you say that they have not been especially consistent coming down the stretch, and that's always a concern. But I think what happens here is that we get to see the real Stanford, the Cardinal, the Tree, the whole deal. We'll see a very, very physical game out of them, and I think this will be I might even say comfortable win for the Cardinal as they get back to the Rose Bowl. Next up, we have the game that we should probably spend the least amount of time on. I think in Charlotte, correct? Neutral field.
Yes, it is neutral site.
Number 20 Duke versus number 1 Florida State. Which is favored. I actually looked at the lineup. As silly as that sounds, Florida State is favored by 29. Carla?
There's only really two things that really could influence this game. One's a statistic, and it's the fact that Duke has played a lot of close games this year. They had 5 games determined by less than 1 possession. And of those 5 games, they were 4-1. If Duke can hang in this game and keep it close, based on that, you've got to say they're going to believe and they'll have a shot. Can they keep it close? I don't think so. But if we're coming down the stretch in the third quarter and it's a 1-possession game, you've got to believe that all of the momentum is going to be on the Duke sideline. So that would be that would be really the only thing that would prevent Florida State from winning this game statistically. The other thing is that we are shooting this on Wednesday night. And there's a press conference happening tomorrow on Thursday.
Yes.
That could determine a lot of things. If Winston is determined to be ineligible for the game, all bets are off. And at that point, I think Duke has a legitimate shot to win the game if that happens, because Florida State has not really played much with backup quarterback. I think that kind of dishevels the offense a little bit. I think Duke would have a shot of keeping that game close and then potentially pulling it off. But that's all to be determined tomorrow. So right now, yeah, I think you're right. I think Florida State's going to win this game and win easily going away. But, who knows what could happen after tomorrow.
I'm glad you mentioned the thing about the news conference. I heard some discussion about that on the Worldwide Leaders. I was watching Hoops before we taped. And I thought, that's pretty much the only way that Florida State has a chance of losing that game. And that would be a huge blow, not just in terms of offensive production, but you wonder what that happens, what that would do to the psyche of a team. Obviously, you have no idea. And without having any kind of notion of how that news conference is going to go, you have to assume that Winston's going to play, and if that's the case, you have to assume that a 29-point spread might be a bit conservative. But as I wrote over the weekend, you play the games for a reason. So, but still, solid pick for Florida State. And that leaves us with one additional conference championship game. This, of course, the Big Ten in Indianapolis, where the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes are favored over the number 10 Michigan State Spartans and their nasty defense by 5.5 points. Carla?
First, can we talk about the fact about how much it sucks that this game is indoors?
Yes. I did. When I wrote a blog post years ago with pictures of Soldier Field and Cleveland Browns Stadium, in the middle of winter, and it's snow, and it just looks shitty, and it's the weather that only a Big Ten fan could love, I know why, but yeah, this game should be played outside.
None of the teams have a dome stadium. None of them do. Nobody plays indoors. So then why do you play the championship game indoors? Because to be perfectly honest, it changes the conditions.
Yeah, it does.
For these teams, it changes the logistics of the offense. It changes. Run games change.
In this instance, this would playing outside in the weather that's predicted to come through here over the weekend. That would probably favor Michigan State.
It would.
But still, I want this to be outside.
Yeah. No. Anyhow, I had to bring that up. Being Big Teners,
Absolutely correct.
Play at Lombardi. I mean, like.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Soldier Field would be awesome.
So yes, it would. I think that would be the ideal spot.
But anyhow, I'm I'm off on a tangent. Sorry. Right. We just talked about this. That Michigan State's defense, Ohio State's offense. I mean, that's rushing defense. One of the best rushing defenses in the nation against one of the best rushing offenses in the nation. Strength against strength. Being indoors, I think that makes a difference. I think, I think the defense actually has a better shot of stopping the run when you don't have the elements out there, because there's more opportunities for missed tackles. There's more opportunities for, perfectly honest, people flat out falling on their faces trying to make tackles when you're out there on a slick track. There won't be a slick track on Saturday, but you could argue that the other way too. There won't be a slick track on Saturday, so the runners, so your ball carriers aren't going to have a problem either. A low-scoring game favors Michigan State because, let's be perfectly honest again on this, Michigan State's offense, there's not much to it. So if Michigan State's defense is up to the standard that's been playing all season and can keep this a low-scoring game, and after watching what happened last weekend, I'm sure, we talked about this before on Twitter about how I would be really worried going into this game sitting there as an Ohio State fan. This isn't Michigan, but it's Michigan State, and my gut says Michigan State wins this game.
Okay.
And I know you hate that, but I saw a lot of holes in Ohio State's defense last week that Michigan exploited. Now, whether or not the Michigan State offense will be able to take advantage of those same weaknesses, just because of the way that their offense is kind of meh. Indoors might favor Ohio State in that. Again, this is again kind of a toss-up. I'm going to lean Michigan State, but I think it's going to be a close game either way.
Okay. The indoor thing I think is helpful because I think that makes a difference in the one thing that's going to make a difference in this game, and that is Ohio State being able to throw the ball. I think that's how that's what Ohio State has to do to loosen up Michigan's run defense. If Ohio State's able to do that, that could potentially be a game that gets away from Sparty. I'm not sure that that's going to be the case because the passing game has been inconsistent as I've watched my Buckeyes through the season. And there were big passing plays against Michigan, but the passing game was actually Braxton was actually pretty inconsistent last Saturday. And if that continues, for the championship game. That could be a problem. I also have the same concerns about Ohio State that I did with Auburn. This is a situation that this Ohio State team, is completely unfamiliar with. There hasn't been no post game for past several years, no title games, nothing like that. They do a good job of saying the Michigan game is our title game, our bowl game, etc. And it ain't the same thing. So I wonder how Ohio State handles this situation mentally. To have that peak that they had against Michigan, and then have to go play another game the next weekend against a really, really tough defense. I'm gonna. At no point have I considered picking Michigan State here, but I see myself having conniptions once again on Saturday evening, because I think this will be another tight game. And I'm still going to be on the edge of my seat in the fourth quarter, because I think, and it'll be similar to the game Ohio State played at Michigan State last season. That was a I think that was a 1-point win. This could work out to be the same way. But of course, I'm picking my Buckeyes.
Michigan State's been preparing for this game all year too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've had that whole, why not us in Pasadena. I mean, they're going to come in up for this game definitely, because this is where they've wanted to be since the start of the season.
Yes.
To play for a chance for the Rose Bowl, and that will be, like you're saying, potentially emotional letdown. We don't know if that's going to happen, but that would be something I'd be worried about, because Michigan State's going to come in up, and who knows where Ohio State is right now mentally. So, although you've got to believe they're going to come in up, because if they win, they're going to play for a national championship. But it'll be interesting.
It could work out that both teams play in the Rose Bowl.
This could be, why not? We could just have a ridiculously high scoring game. Stranger things have happened, right? I mean, we didn't think Michigan's offense was anything, and look at what they did last week.
5 days ago, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Fully. God, I don't want to do that
42-41 this weekend too.
I don't want to do that again. Okay, guys, that's obviously there are a lot of other conference championship games. I would my advice would be to park yourself in front of the TV starting tomorrow night, and don't move.
Don't miss Bedlam.
Bathroom, food. Got to run to the kitchen, get beer. That's fine. But otherwise, on the couch.
Don't miss Bedlam. That's what I said, not bathroom. Bedlam. Bedlam's a big game this week too.
Either one, you don't want to miss.
Yeah. Bathrooms are good too.
Be bad for the couch. Carla, have an excellent weekend, and we will be back upon completion of this weekend's craziness to preview some bowl game craziness.
I was just going to say, for something even crazier, right?
See how all this stuff works out, and dissect all that stuff. In the meantime, enjoy Conference Championship Week. Carla, thank you once again.
Thank you, as always.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you again soon. Okay, football. Here we go. In 3. I'm going to vote first time. There's always something like this. Jesus God. Okay. This time for sure.
We just got the best outtake.
We can't start this now. We can't start the giggling now.
We just got the best outtake ever right there.